All right, let's get to some troubling developments with regard to this OpenAI whistleblower. We can put this up on the screen. He was a former researcher at OpenAI turned whistleblower, and he has sadly been found dead in his apartment in San Francisco. According to authorities, they ruled his death to be a suicide. They say police found no evidence of foul play. In October, the New York Times had published an interview with Mr. Balaji. His name is Suchir Balaji, and he alleged that OpenAI had violated U.S. copyright law while it was developing ChatGPT. And he became so disturbed by what he learned about his allegations about their copyright violations and how unethical this was and how damaging it ultimately was to the entire internet ecosystem. He felt he could no longer remain at OpenAI and then, came out as a whistleblower. We can put this next piece up on the screen, which includes some of his writings and thoughts. This is something that he posted relatively recently. He says, I recently participated in a New York Times story about fair use and generative AI and why I'm skeptical fair use would be a plausible defense for a lot of generative AI products. I also wrote a blog post. To give some context, I was at OpenAI for nearly 4 years, worked on ChatGPT for the last 1.5 of them. I initially didn't know much about copyright, fair use, etc., but became curious after seeing all the lawsuits. When I tried to understand the issue better, I came to the conclusion that fair use seems like a pretty implausible defense for a lot of generative AI products for the basic reason that they can create substitutes that compete with the data they are trained on. I've written up the more detailed reasons for why I believe this in my post. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, but I still feel like it's important for even non-lawyers to understand the law, both the letter of it and why it's actually there in the first place. That being said, he goes on to say, I don't want this to read as a critique of ChatGPT or OpenAI per se, because fair use and generative AI is a much broader issue than any one product or company. I also went back to read the New York Times story that he references here that he was really featured in and was kind of the main character in. And one of the things that he told the Times was, quote, if you believe what I believe, you have to just leave the company. He had not taken a new job at that time back in October. He said he was working on what he calls personal projects, was among the first employees to leave a major AI company and speak out publicly against the way these companies have used copyrighted data to create their technologies. And he believes the threats are more immediate than some of the things we've talked about on the show, like the potential extremely dystopian possibilities that have been raised by some of the people who are concerned about the AI future. He says the threats are more immediate. ChatGPT and other chatbots, he said, are destroying the commercial viability of individuals, businesses, and internet services they created, the digital data used to train these AI systems. And obviously, if his view were to hold in, let's say, a court of law, it really would fundamentally disrupt, undercut this entire now massive industry that all of Silicon Valley is effectively placing gigantic multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar bets on. The amounts of money that are at stake at this point in AI development that already have manifested themselves are quite astronomical, which is why the police say it was a suicide. We have no specific evidence to indicate otherwise. But when you see someone who is a key player blowing the whistle on these practices, who could potentially be a danger to a multi hundreds of millions of dollar industry, billions of dollars industry, you have to raise questions about what exactly happened here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you look at the circumstances too, like you said, at least the medical examiner, the police, they claim that there was no foul play. But I just think in the context of what you were just saying, it's obvious that we should at least take it seriously like we did with the Boeing investigation. Let's put this up there on the screen. OpenAI has a lot of stake right now. Right now, Sam Altman is donating $1 million to the Donald Trump inaugural fund. The Financial Times and others have reported, by the way, that his feud with Elon Musk is like a potential existential threat to the company. They have talked about how he has been, and look, it's actually true. There is a huge divergence between AI theory of some of the people like David Sachs, Elon Musk, Mark Andreessen around open source AI versus the closed, quote unquote, responsibility AI systems that OpenAI and Microsoft want, which is basically a monopolistic gateway over their current systems. There are billions of dollars at stake just personally for Sam Altman.
That's
There
right.
are trillions of dollars at stake for Microsoft, for its market cap, and for the entire tech industry. Put the next one up there on the screen, for example. OpenAI's quote, Sam Altman, quote, worked for love. Now he's going to make $10.5 billion. This is something that Elon has also talked about. It's like, oh, it's miraculous. You start out as a nonprofit and then you eventually hit pay dirt. Then you just go through all of this fake legal, maneuvering to convert yourself to a for-profit organization that's worth $150 billion. And now you're a multi-billionaire on paper who's already quite wealthy.
He was already a billionaire.
Yes, he already was. Yeah. But now multi never hurts, right? And look, I don't think it's about money per se. It's about power. It's about control. And so if a single individual in this organization feels that this is a threat, yeah, look, we got to take it seriously. There's just way too much here at stake. And in a sense, I think we should take some of these people at their word. I don't even 100% believe like AI is going to be the 100%, the future, the determiner of everything. It's going to change the fundamental relationship of humanity to each other, etc. But if we take them seriously and they believe that to be true, then the stakes couldn't be higher. I mean, it's like being in the forefront of the smartphone. It was a literal trillion-dollar industry. So that's what they believe. At the very least, take a look at this whistleblower. I mean, there's a lot of sketchy people involved in these companies. Saudis, they've been investing in Silicon Valley, all these other foreign agents, governments, etc. So a lot of people have a lot of money on the line.
This is a big money, high stakes game that's being played. And you can see it too in the contours of this election. I mean, with both crypto and AI, which kind of like, linked as a certain sense as like these technologies allegedly of the future. Astronomical, record-breaking amounts of money spent. Elon, he has a lot of different motives, but certainly with him and Andreessen and David Sachs and others, making sure that they can have a free hand to develop these technologies and benefit from these technologies in the way that they want was certainly a motivating factor in the way that they participated in this election. So Sam Altman right now is in suck-up mode. That's where the $1 million to Trump inaugural comes from. He also was asked about Elon and Doge, and he was like, I'm sure he'll be great. I'm sure. No problems there. Elon, the magnificent. I never had a bad word to say about him. Love the guy. He's wonderful. So he's, the vibe is panic, right? The vibe there
honestly should be.
Definitely panic. Yeah, because Elon now is probably the most powerful person in the world, in addition to already being the wealthiest person in the world. So, that he's on the wrong side of him is potentially quite devastating
I actually
for
think Elon
his own personal goals.
At least my hope is, because I think it's outrageous what they have done. You take a nonprofit, you develop a consumer platform, you convert it to for-profit, you sign a partnership with the largest tech company in the world, you lobby the government to create guardrails so that no new entrants can enter the space. You've created all these fake licensing agreements, incorporating it into Microsoft's office environment. And, now we're talking about tech, what was it? We're talking about Pentagon contracts and all this other stuff. I mean, the acceleration of this and its power in the United States in just the last 5 years is extraordinary. So yeah, I mean, oversight, great. Open source, absolutely. The less power these people have, the better off, in my opinion, especially again, if we are to believe them. But anyway, yeah, that's the one thing I think Elon is 100% correct about.
I think I differ on this because I don't think open source is the answer, although I think it's better than monopoly control from like a Microsoft. So I think it's superior to the Sam Altman model, but I think there has to be significant government regulation to make sure that these new technologies benefit humanity rather than benefiting just, a few.
I don't disagree with you.
Private
I'm not
wealthy
for
individuals.
total private. I actually am for a set standard, as in this is our problem with social media and all these problems with moderation. It's like, okay, listen, we just pass a law that says you moderate per the First Amendment. It's like, that's it. Take all this crap off the table on AI. It's like no political interference with this. You have to have copyright compensation, right? Well, let's figure all this out first and not fall into the same trap as Section 230, like with the internet in 1996 or whatever. And we're like, oh yeah, this Bill Clinton. I was at the White House Christmas tour and they have a photo of Clinton sending the first email in 96 on this brick laptop. But you're like, I mean, this thing is gigantic. I mean, it's like this thick.
Oh, you don't mean literally?
No, like a literal. It looks like a brick from 1996, and you could see him hunched over like this. You can tell he doesn't even know how to type, which is hilarious. You know, like the classic boomer, the boomer fingers. And yeah, and I was looking at it. It's crazy to think.
To take typing classes, like on like actual typewriters.
Yeah, you would hope so. I don't think so. From what I saw, he's got the classic like chicken peck thing going on. I think he sent I forget who he sent the email to. Anyway, but point is, I was alive for that, right? So what we've seen that acceleration happen, and at that time, nobody could have predicted what the internet, would have become. At that time, they called it the information superhighway. So let's just set the standards now, and then we don't have to worry as much, and you can actually be better off for everybody. We're gonna have more entrants, etc. But instead, what's gonna happen? You're gonna have already what it is. We got lobbyists in Washington. We got a multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
Basically the S&P 500. If a single one of these stocks goes down, I think it's like the majority of the gains of the S&P 500 is 7 stocks. If NVIDIA, which already, by the way, didn't meet expectations in its last one, if it has a couple of down quarters, boom, the whole U.S. economy can go like that. So there's a lot riding on this, and it is very terrifying.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.